Yeah, I was surprised when I walked out of the house.
All right, folks, thank you for joining us this evening. The time is 5:30 p.m. the evening of Monday, January 15th, 2025. I'd like to call to order the regular scheduled Planning and Zoning meeting for the City of Middleton. My name is Matthew Watkins, Planning and Zoning Chairman. If we could, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the Deputy Clerk please do a roll call of the Commissioners?
Chairman Watkins.
Present.
Commissioner Trumbull.
Here.
Commissioner Waltman.
Here.
Commissioner Gregory.
Here.
Commissioner Gibson. Here. Commissioner Turner.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, we have a quorum. We may proceed. This is the time lawfully noted for hearings scheduled for the Planning and Zoning Commission for the City of Middleton, Idaho, according to the posted agenda. The Deputy Clerk has confirmed we have a quorum present to hear the selected agenda. Excuse me, the scheduled agenda. Just a few points of order we'd like to go over. If you could, please make sure your personal electronics, cell phone, anything like that is silenced. If you need to talk while in the audience, if there's any kind of discussion, please step outside. These meetings are recorded for public record. Any conversation in the audience is picked up by the microphones. Basically negates all the work we do here. With that, if you're here to offer public testimony on any of the agenda items, please make sure you've got signed in on the public comment in the rear, and we'll get that taken care of. There will be a designated time at the end of the meeting that is reserved for general public comments that doesn't have anything to do with what's on the agenda. We'd like to make sure everybody has time to give their testimony during the allotted time for this meeting. So if somebody says what you're going to say, if somebody's already made that point, you're welcome to reiterate that, but we'll just have it set there. We don't need to go over everything again. You may also give any new testimony if applicable. When your name is called, you'll be asked to come up to the podium, clearly state your name and address for the record. You'll be given 3 minutes on the clock to give your testimony. That is a hard set limit. Everybody will have 3 minutes. Please adhere to this time limit. That way we just keep everything moving along, gives everybody a chance to give their testimony. You may be allotted one time extension of an additional 1 minute to wrap your thoughts up or conclude, and that'll be it. With that said, we'll move forward with the published agenda. All right, first we have an action item, basically routine administrative business. We want to consider approving the minutes for the last meeting, which was November 18th, 2024. With that, has everybody had a chance to review the minutes? Anything didn't look out of order on that? With that, we'll take a motion to approve.
I move we approve consent agenda item A.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Waltman, second by Commissioner Gregory. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, moving on, we'll move into public hearing. This is an application by the City of Middleton and Herbert and Janice Fitzpatrick for the annexation and rezone of a parcel located at 397 South Cemetery Road. Applicants are requesting that a 15-acre parcel be rezoned from Canyon County Agricultural to City AR Agricultural Residential. Madam Planner.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. If you want to look up on the TV screens, you'll see the vicinity. This is a project parcel that's located at 397 South Cemetery Road, just south of the Middleton Middle School, and you can see Viking storage up there where my mouse is moving, and Highway 44 to the north. This parcel is currently located in Canyon County, and it's zoned agricultural. The parcel is approximately 15 acres, and it contains an existing single-family home. The property and home is owned by Herbert and Janice Fitzpatrick. So both the City of Middleton and the Fitzpatricks are applying, we're the applicants together. We're applying to the governing boards to annex the property into the City of Middleton and rezone it to agricultural residential. And if this application is approved, City and the Fitzpatricks will complete an administrative lot line adjustment and create a new 9.5 acre parcel that the Fitzpatricks will sell to the city. So if you look up on the screen, The lower green part would be the new lot that ultimately would be created, and city would purchase that from the Fitzpatricks, and they'll continue to keep the yellow portion there on the northern part. City intends to grow alfalfa or some other crop on the 9.5 acre parcel as a part of the city's pilot project for the sewer treatment plant. To this end, City and the Fitzpatricks have already executed a purchase and sell agreement that was just a few weeks ago in December, but is contingent upon approval of this annexation. So if you have an annexation and rezone application, there are two findings that must be made for an annexation. First, the property must be contiguous to city limits. Second, the annexation must be deemed orderly and allowing the city an efficient and economical extension of city services such as sewer, water, police, fire, schools, and roadway system. An application for rezone requires two findings also. First, the rezone will not adversely affect the city's delivery of services, and second, the rezone request is not in conflict with the comprehensive plan. With respect to annexation, planning staff finds that applicant's project meets the criteria of contiguity and orderly development. The 15-acre parcel is an infill property and is surrounded on all 6 sides actually, is polygon, by city property. So that would be an orderly annexation of that property. As to city services, a water main spans along the northern boundary of the property. Sewer mains are located nearby in Whiffen Lane to the west and in the Willow Creek subdivision to the east. As to fire, police, and schools, the single-family home located on site already enjoys these public services, so nothing will change there. The 9.5 acre parcel to be purchased by the city will be used to grow alfalfa, so it will not be an undue burden on public services like fire and police. The comprehensive plan future land use map shows residential use in this area. As you can see up there, that's the blue. The Fitzpatrick's home is residential, so it still complies with the FLUM, and the new zone requested of AR, agricultural residential, is also a residential use. So there's consistency there and harmony. We received no comments from surrounding landowners. There were no comments from any agencies. If you look up on the screen, you'll see that our legal notice was appropriate and according to law. And the applicable codes and standards are up there on the screen. They were also in the staff report, so you had time to review them. The Planning and Zoning Commission is tasked with recommending approval or denial of the application for annexation rezone. The recommendation can also state additional conditions for approval. Any recommendation or decision must be based upon findings of facts and conclusions of law and be set forth in a reasoned statement. As to findings of facts, planning staff set forth those findings above in this presentation in italics and also in the staff report. As to conclusions of law, planning staff finds that the Commission has the authority to hear this application and to recommend approval or denial of the application with or without conditions. Planning staff notes that all public notice requirements were met. Planning staff further set forth the portions of the Idaho State Code and Middleton City Code to be considered in making a decision. If the Commission is inclined to recommend approval of the annexation rezone, planning staff does not recommend any conditions of approval. And I stand for questions.
And very quickly, before we continue, I'm out of practice. We didn't have a December meeting, so we did open public hearings at 5:33.
I have a question, Madam Planner. Access to the future city parcel, how are you accessing that? How's the city gaining access to that 9.5 acres?
Strictly from these eastern parcels, which we also own,
Okay.
and the southern parcel, which we also own, and we also, no, we don't own that parcel to the west.
That's all I had.
Yeah. It would just be subsumed into the farming that's already going on there.
And the purpose is for
The pilot
the
project,
pilot project.
yeah.
Any other questions for planning staff?
So we're irrigating with treated wastewater. That's what that,
Yes.
right? Okay.
So my question might not be appropriate here. I'm not sure because it's actually part of the next item on the agenda. If I play devil's advocate, I'm sorry, would this fall into the southern route of the potential bypass?
It goes right through the middle of it. If you, can you see my mouse moving there? It's truly about right there. You know, the concepts that have been set forth so far. Who knows exactly? But
That any other further questions for staff? All right.
The home, well, we have one more.
Yeah.
The homeowners are for this, right?
yes,
The
they
current
actually
homeowners.
signed the purchase and sell agreement that Douglas drafted, so.
All right, well, with that, we can move on. I guess we can move on to public comment.
Yep.
All right, with that, at 5:40, move on to public comment on this particular application. First, we have Chris Hopper.
I don't have any comment, thank you.
Okay. Next, we have Ryan Romano. For the other one.
Are you looking at the annexation one? Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, Speaker, so the chair is reading out the list of people who signed up to testify about this particular hearing. So if you hear your name, it means that your name was on the list for this hearing. If you intended to testify at the next hearing, the list is still in the back and you can go add your name to that one instead.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a little confusing there.
Yes, sure. Greg, you
Can I
bet.
have my name to this one?
Pardon?
Can I have my name to this one? I did
Sure,
not.
yeah, absolutely. Claire Romano? Same? Okay, no problem at all. And we actually have you on here, Mike. We've got Mike McDougal.
Okay, good, all right.
Come on up.
Okay,
I just signed everything.
Yeah, you got it.
I signed papers. I'll get it, sign everything. Mike McDougal, 13037 Greenwell Lane, Colton. So, I see nothing wrong with this as a person from back here, other than the fact that when I go back about a year to all of the meetings regarding the bypass, our city council has continually kicked that can down the road. We got a line, they didn't want a line, they want a swath. Then we got a swath, they didn't want a swath, they want a line.
So with this.
But this is
Mike,
cutting in half.
Mike, this has to be just particular about this application.
Okay, well then this blocks that. And so it frustrates me that this particular thing happens to be a perfect block for something that's been kicked down the road, so they're together. They are affecting each other. And if a decision had been made, but the city council refused it twice, this wouldn't be able to be discussed because there would be a bypass route potentially going through there. And so you're talking about something before something that this city council has kicked down the road twice. And it's starting to feel like they did it on purpose. This is my moment to say, I'm saying it in kindness, not really. The reality is, this is starting to stink.
It's a pun.
So I just want that on record. This city council that is we're talking about taking this to, has had lots of ample opportunities and has switched their story twice. Then we got this other stuff. There's more to do in the next one. But my point is, this is a roadblock to something they have physically kicked down the road twice. So I guess that's all I have to say. And that seems completely wrong.
Thank you. Perfect. All right, well, with that, we can close public comment on this.
Can I comment on that?
Nope.
No?
No, public comments closed on this. We can go to commission discussion and put it up for a vote.
Time for the closing.
Yep, time for the closing of 5:44 p.m. All right, commission comment?
Gibson?
Commissioner Gibson?
Thank you. The money that we're saving by having a pilot project like this is many, many millions of dollars, correct?
Over many years, yes.
Over many years. So this is a very important, this pilot project is very important to Middleton.
It is very important, and it just so happens that the Fitzpatricks chose to put their property on the market. They were selling everything. It's not, city didn't approach them. Their property was on the market.
And it's been on the market for some time.
Long time.
Well, I don't know about that. I think it's only been recently on the market for a few months. It hasn't been on there for years or anything.
It's been close to a year, because I've looked at the property.
And, Madam Planner, with this, just for the sake of going on with record as well, is this is not like a new addition. This is contiguous to the ground that we've had for many years in this program, correct?
Right,
So,
yes.
so the ground that has been with the sewer treatment plant that has been in, I mean, how long has that pilot program been?
Oh, oof. I don't know that much about it. I think it's been going on a few years.
It's
4, 5, 6 years. I just don't know.
So this is
Public
just-
Works kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
So this is just a like a continuation of that ground.
On a larger scale, because we have to in order to meet the EPA requirements.
Commissioner Trumbull?
One other thing, and the reason it's cut like that is because of the canal there, right? Doesn't make any sense to have a little spear hanging down.
It's the canal,
Yeah.
yeah.
Any other comments, Commission?
So we're looking at, if we look at what Mike was talking about, we have a potential bypass option that's obviously very important to Middleton. And then we have the wastewater project, which is eminently, incredibly important to the city of Middleton. And so is there any room to negotiate this? And this is, again, sort of falls into the next agenda item. How do we get both? Because both are important.
Well, and not to, and I'm not trying to cut anybody off, and I'm not trying to poo-poo anything or put anything down, but when we have these items, they need to be looked at strictly as just the item. Unfortunately, that's our stipulation as the commission, is we have to separate one from
So
the other.
realizing that, I think sometimes we get ourselves in trouble because we look at everything like it's in a vacuum. And we don't look at how it affects other things, be it this project or developments or anything like that. I think part of what we need to do, and whether or not it's in our bylaws or whatever, is we need to start looking at the whole project, the whole picture, and how its effect is not just in front of us, but down the road.
Absolutely.
Because right now, this is a, one side's going to win and one side's really going to lose. And I don't like that. But who cares what I think?
It's kind of a double-edged sword here.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. Well, with that, if there's no further comments from the commission,
One
well,
more, sorry.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
No, you're okay.
Is there any way to not to kick it down the road, any way to postpone this, maybe table it until the actual bypass situation is addressed?
I would defer to council on that.
So a couple things. So first, ITD has eminent domain authority. The city can't block an ITD project. So that just doesn't exist as an option. This is an extension of an existing, the thing that will be true of the bypass overlaying this will be true of it overlaying the property to the east or wherever else it goes or may go. None of that is modified. If I can't remember the closing date exactly on the.
It's March.
Yeah, but no, this is not something that would warrant delay, but it changes none of the material facts that have been discussed in the context of the comprehensive plan, any more than a boundary line adjustment of 1 foot along the eastern boundary of the green parcel would change the material facts. If there is a piece of property to be acquired by ITD, it can be acquired from whoever the owner is. Yeah. That is always the case. If it's Patrick's, then they would be the owner. If it's the city, then that would be the case. If it's Patrick's sold to some third party, then that would be the person who ITD was attempting to acquire the property from. So no, this is not one that would make sense to delay. And it has no, in my opinion, it has no actual bearing on the bypass, because ITD's right to engage in road projects, they have the right to exercise eminent domain and do that. So this won't impact that, doesn't change it, and if a portion of this property is used for some other purpose, whether it's the middle or the north or the south or whatever, then as is always the case, there would likely be some compensation, and the property would have to be replaced at some other location to continue the pilot project. So it's not like one is being sacrificed on the blade of the other. I don't think that we're in some situation where the switch is either on or off and there's a binary outcome. The city would have to start looking, okay, well, where else can we acquire adjacent property to continue the pilot project? Where that could be or would be a question for Jason, not for me. But the concerns that I've heard tonight that have been raised, I don't think that the annexation or non-annexation of this will impact them, but the non-annexation of it will potentially, if we push past our closing date, it will foreclose the city's ability to acquire this property. So that would be unfortunate.
Thank you.
All right, well, if there's nothing else, and Commissioner Greer, Commissioner Gibson, you are welcome to make a motion. If you do want to proceed with that, you're welcome to make a motion on it, but if not, I will, if anybody would like to make a motion, take a crack at it.
I move that the application meets findings of facts, conclusions of law in the staff report, and that we approve the application by the city of Middleton and Herbert Janice Fitzpatrick to annex into the city and rezone the parcel of 397 South Cemetery Road, requesting that the 15-acre parcel be rezoned from Canyon County Agriculture to city agriculture.
Agricultural residential is this
City
specific.
agricultural residential.
AR.
A.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Waltmate and a second by, we'll give it to Commissioner Trimble. And let's just, if we could we do a roll call vote on just everything tonight?
Chairman Watkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Trimble,
Yes.
Commissioner Waltamy,
Aye.
Commissioner Gregory,
Yes.
Commissioner Gibson,
Yes.
Commissioner Turner,
Yes.
unanimous.
Got that?
We close the public hearing.
Yep, we will close the public hearing on this application at 5:52 p.m. Moving on, we'll move on to our next public hearing application by the City of Middleton for an amendment to the Middleton City Comprehensive Plan text and maps.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Updates include amendments to sections regarding existing conditions, community design, economic development, hazardous areas, public service, housing, land use, natural resource in particular areas, property rights, recreation in downtown, schools, transportation, and the appendix. We will open this public hearing at 5:53 p.m. Madam Planner.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Tonight you're going to hear more from our consultant that helped us through this process. It's Nicolette Womack, but I'll get us started, and then I'm going to sit back here and just talk over her shoulders occasionally. So the last significant update to the city's comprehensive plan was in December 2019. Since then, there has been an unprecedented amount of growth in and around the city. In June 2023, the city formally started the comp plan update by hiring a team led by Downtown Redevelopment Services and Nicolette's firm, Kimley Horn Engineering. There's been a lot of public outreach over the past 18 months. There have also been workshops with governing boards, both P&Z and City Council, to ensure that we were on the right track as we made our way towards public hearings. All the information from the last 18 months was compiled into a draft comprehensive plan in November. Then we had a final workshop, and it was combined, if you remember, PZ and City Council. On November 13th, you got to look at the final draft and make some comments at that time to see if there were any changes, and there were some changes. There was some fine tuning that has occurred since that workshop. So Nicolette will walk us through the application tonight, but I want to get some legal housekeeping done first before I drop the mic. Number one, comments were attached to the staff report, but we had public comments, no agency comments, and then I got a late comment on Friday after the agenda was posted from Highway District 4, so I'm going to put it in for record as Exhibit C. You all had a copy on your desk, so you had a chance to read it. Notice was given according to law. We did the typical notice required by the Local Land Use Planning Act, but I also put in an advertisement in the Middleton January Gazette edition, and we posted it on our reader board out here, the big sign out front in the parking lot, and we also posted notice on the website. Applicable codes and standards are up on the screen. Also, they were in the staff report. Tonight, the commission is tasked with making a recommendation of approval or denial. The approval can also be a recommendation with additional changes or deletions or to add something new. The commission's recommendation must be set forth as a reasoned statement indicating any facts and law relied upon. And then I will include the commission's recommendations in a findings of fact, conclusions of law, and recommendation, and then I will post your recommendation in the actual legal notice for the city council hearing. So tonight we might have to spend a little extra time working on really specifically what you guys want me to put in the recommendation. Just be prepared for that. So I'm going to turn this over to Nicolette Womack, and I'll pipe in here a little bit.
Chair, Commissioners, thank you for your time tonight. So we're back here again, returning with much of the same information from back in November. So overview of the process that we went through. This is much of the same of what you saw in November, so I'll be quick about it. Phase 1 was just initial startup. Phase 2 was the existing conditions. Phase 3, we worked through visions and objectives. And then in Phase 4, we moved into goals and policies. During Phase 5, we worked with city staff and the steering committee to go through implementation strategies as well. Now we're in the adoption process, and hopefully at some point we'll all get to celebrate all the hard work that's been done. In the existing conditions section, I won't read all of this, but you've seen this back in November, you've seen this earlier probably in the year, and then you've seen the updated version tonight. So existing conditions includes all the existing plans on file for Middleton, public services, facilities, and utilities overviews. Risk and resilience analysis is in there. There's demographic information. There's natural resources information, land use and agricultural analysis, and special sites. So those are generally the Boise River and the Riverwalk Recreation Area. And they also include the trolley station and Lee Mobley Museum. So this is an example of some of the economic conditions. So definitely recommend perusing this. Lots to learn about the city. And then you'll see what's called a SWOT assessment, which is your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So recommend spending some time there. Regarding public input, this has been covered in detail in the plan. It talks about some of the general feelings and sentiments that have been captured from the public input. Recommend reviewing that as well. And then vision and values, that's broken into 5 themes that have corresponding principles. And then in our recommendation sections, this is more specific to the state law required sections. So you'll see a section about property rights and additional recommendations within that. A section about school facilities and transportation, economic development, land use, that's where you'll see the future land use map. This is the current future land use map that is before you tonight. I'm happy to go through that, any of these slides if you have more detailed questions when we're done. The future land use map does correspond with a FLUM chart, so there are different designations that are color-coded on that map. There's a definition of that, and then there's a summary of that percent of the acreage within your city designated each one. And then to help future development work from the comp plan into your zoning code, there are accompanying recommended zoning districts for each one. So that's what a property owner would reasonably be able to rezone amongst within the designation. So I don't think we need, oh no, we need that.
Actually, I did add that. That is the current futures acquisitions map, and at our workshop, a motion occurred to, as a draft, delete it, because it's supposed to hold a property that you might want to acquire within the next 20 years, but our Public Works Department and our city engineer couldn't delineate anything they specifically wanted placed there, so it really is irrelevant, and so everybody agreed to delete it.
The next section is about natural resources, particular areas or sites, those are the ones we listed earlier. Hazardous areas, that includes our floodplain map, which is updated with the latest floodplain maps, and there's definitions in there about what each of the color codes mean, what a person can or can't do within each of those color codes. Then you'll see the public services, facilities, and utilities. It talks about how that can be improved over time and maintained. Transportation is the next section. It included in, yep, go for it.
So this is a little, no, go back to that map. This map and the map to follow, transportation and schools map. At the workshop in November, council made a motion to add the alternate for couplet from the ITD Pell study to these draft maps to be considered tonight and onward when it goes to city council. So this map is a little bit different. You can see the kind of the you can see the couplet there, or maybe not. But also over in the legend, it's called out. It's kind of that heavier red. It's a red and black hatched line. It's now called out in the legend couplet, one-way couplet. You'll see it on this next map too. There it is again. Okay, sorry.
Next section is about recreation, downtown revitalization. This includes the boundary of the downtown area. There's also a section about housing, community design, agriculture, and that is the bulk of the comp plan. So otherwise, we'll stand for any questions. Been a long process, excited about all the participation that's happened along the way, and we'll stand for any questions.
Can you reiterate for the audience and the people watching where they can find the comp plan online?
They can find it right now on the on our website, Idaho, middletoncity.idaho.gov, and it's right on the overview page, right there. You click on it, and then it clicks to links once you're inside it, so it's really user-friendly. And you can also see a copy of it attached to the agenda for tonight's hearing also.
And then to expand on Commissioner Gibson, just for the record and everything, I said this is a plan. Correct. This is a plan that this doesn't set. The important thing to remember about this is that it's a plan. It doesn't lock anything into concrete, but it does give us a
Vision.
So I mean, I want that, don't want that to be, make sure we get that on the record for people and kind of see that too. But, Commission, any other questions for staff?
And the reason that we put this on put bypass on the comp plan was because it would expedite the actual progress of the bypass once it's approved.
So the reason that I worked with the consultant to put it on there was because President Kaiser made a motion and they said put it on the draft copies, and so we did.
I thought that there was a discussion stating that if if it was on the comp plans, the state was far more likely to release the funds for it more quickly than not. And I could be wrong, it's been a few months.
There's so many guys in this audience that can answer that question better than me.
And I'm sure they'll talk
Truly.
about it.
Truly.
Probably true, okay.
These are all proposed, yeah.
I think it's important to clarify that it's labeled proposed on the plan, so.
Commission, any other questions for staff? All right, with that, we'll open into public comment at 6:05 p.m. I'll start off with Chris Hopper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. For the record, Chris Hopper, 15435 Highway 44 in Caldwell. I'd like to first point out that we did provide comments in writing to all. You received those just this evening. I really appreciate the opportunity to do so. My comments are specific only to the transportation components of this plan amendment. I'm the district engineer for Highway District 4. That's what I do, is transportation. Some things I wanted to point out to you on this inclusion of this alternative with your comprehensive plan amendment. In the last, I think, 18 months or so, we've been exploring various alternatives that are available to make improvements to the Highway 44 corridor. This one that the city has selected is perhaps the least effective, that it's available from a transportation perspective. I've detailed a number of reasons from the information that ITD developed as part of their plan on the letter I provided. But in general, the travel time for this alternative is anticipated to be higher than for alternatives located outside of the city center. The ability of this alternative to absorb congestion both today and for future capacity is less than those other alternatives. The cost of this alternative is higher than any of the other alternatives that were considered, and it appears to have higher environmental impacts. People, places, things in our, what they call the built environment. That will, again, drive project costs and drive requirements for mitigation. So, as a whole, this means is this alternative is going to be continuing this alternative for inclusion in this process and selecting an alternative. It's going to probably delay it a little bit more. There's more things now for the next group that will review this to consider. That next group consists, and I'll let Jason from ITD elaborate on this part further, but it consists, fortunately, of government officials who are implementing the NEPA process. The environmental process that governs federal regulations. They're going to use a bunch of rules that may not agree with the rules that the city has in place. So this alternative both will lengthen this process as well as remove some of that local control. I would prefer that if you're not going to select one of the alternatives that I like, that you don't have any alternative shown on here at all. But that's my professional opinion. Happy to take the rest of my time and answer any questions from the panel.
Mr. Gibson.
So you said that this project will undoubtedly cost more than the others that you proposed. However, that might be initial cost, but it's my understanding that if the Southern Bypass goes through, it will virtually destroy the Riverwalk, the Crane Creek project, create multiple cul-de-sacs. And going back to the Riverwalk and Crane Creek, if those aren't in effect, then our projected economic loss is far greater than the potential cost for running a bypass, a couplet, as opposed to a bypass.
So the higher cost, if you'll allow me to answer that part of your question, the higher cost I've addressed there is a higher cost of construction. Acquisition of the property needed for one alternative versus the other, and application of implementation of construction.
Okay, and that's exactly what I was addressing. So, present cost versus future loss of revenue. And then one of the things that you had mentioned was historic sites, that the couplets would impede historic sites. Which ones are those? Because I'm maybe just not aware of the historic sites that are south of.
We have to defer to the experts that ITD has provided that prepared the plan. I just took this information from what was available at their last public hearing.
Okay, thank you.
And just a clarification question, Mr. Hopper, just so we have it on record, when we're talking about transit times, what are we talking from freeway, are we talking from the freeway to what, like where, just so we can have a scope of travel?
I'd have to again defer to the information that was presented at the public information meetings. Comparing since all the different various alternatives were considered were centered basically around the outskirts of Middleton, I think we can generalize that to say that travel time is getting from the east side of Middleton to the west.
Perfect. I just wanted that on the record.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
You got
Unless
it.
there are other questions.
All right, thanks, sir. Appreciate you. All right, next we have Jay Gibbons.
Commissioner Watkins, if I may, with consent, I'd like to have Jason from ITD testify before I do.
Yes, that'd be just fine. So with that, we'll move Jason Brinkman. Slide that up, and that might get some questions answered too.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Jason Brinkman. I'm the District Engineer for the Idaho Transportation Department in Southwest Idaho. My work address is 8150 West Chinden in Boise. The department, as I believe you are well aware, is in a planning and environmental linkage study process right now for the Highway 44 corridor from its junction with Interstate 84 west of town to the intersection of Star Road to the east. Most of that project is considering a widening of existing Highway 44 from predominantly 2 lanes to 4 lanes. However, the section within the bounds of Middleton proper has multiple different build alternatives. The alternatives all exist between the bounds of approximately Emmett Road or Hartley on the west side and Duff Lane on the east side. The 3 build alternatives that are under consideration are the widening of the existing highway through town, the construction of a pair of one-ways, what has been known as a couplet, that would occupy both the existing highway and something in the vicinity of Boise Street and Hawthorne Avenue, as well as a third pair of alternatives, which are the commonly referred to alternate or bypass option that would go south of the historic downtown area, westerly toward either Cemetery Road or the vicinity of Hartley and Emmett Road, where we tie back in. The planning environmental linkage process will make a recommendation of which of those alternatives to finalize in the National Environmental Policy Act proceedings, the NEPA document proceedings, within this next year. And we will have a draft of that here just in the next few months. That study will disclose all of the competing factors in any of a few dozen different environmental considerations, from historic resources to air and water quality to noise or visual impacts, and consistency with local planning. So there will be a thorough discussion and disclosure of all of the effects of all of the alternatives in that process. That process will ultimately recommend if any of those alternatives have any fatal flaws, or if any should not be carried forward, as well as which ones will be carried forward. Depending on the nature and severity of the effects, as well as consistency with things like local planning, the document will also make a recommendation of what class of action be completed for NEPA.
And we'll give you one minute to wrap up.
Thank you, sir. Based on the apparent diverse set of impacts on what is looking at, the differential impacts on the 3 corridors, the different opinions about which one is moving forward, there is a potential to extend that time frame by having to do the most comprehensive environmental impact statement portion to carry forward. The department is taking no position on this matter. We simply want to inform the commission of the nature of our study at this time. However, we will mention in passing that there have been questions about the ability to fund this corridor. And if you read the governor's recent budget recommendation of last week, the governor's recommendation, and I'll caveat this by saying it's just a recommendation, the legislature will exert their will. The governor's recommendation is to put forth another $50 million for debt service on transportation bonds, specifically for the construction of these type of corridors. So there will be some $800 million approximately in new capital if that were passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one question for ITD. It's just a simple answer. Rumor or fact, ITD has already said they will not build the couplet or expand Highway 44 through town.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Wallman, I cannot substantiate that. I would say that is rumor. ITD is interested in improving the corridor at its best alignment as the process determines.
Perfect, thank you. That's the only question I have.
Commission, any questions? And just to expand on Mr. Hopper's with transit times, I'm just curious if we have, I know we've been through the meetings, but just for record, are we talking about the transit, like I said, not just from the end of town to the end of town, are we talking, when we talk transit times, we're talking about 84 to a set point, or?
Mr. Chairman, the transit times that are in the study consider the transit time, as you surmised, for the entire corridor. It does break it down into portions of that, and the only place where it is differential is with the different alternatives through Middleton.
Okay. Perfect, that's it. I just wanted that to be cleared out there, so. All right, thank you, sir, appreciate you. All right, with that, we'll go back to Jay Gibbons. Did you want to testify?
Sure.
Perfect, come on up.
Commissioner Watkins, Commission, appreciate the opportunity. My name is Jay Gibbons. I'm the commissioner, one of the commissioners at Highway District 4, chairman at this point in time. My address is 10167 Willis Road, Middleton. I want to clarify my comments in that they will relate, as Mr. Hoppers did, strictly to transportation and the efficiency of getting traffic from one point to the other. I'm opposed to the couplet plan in that for a couple of reasons. It will slow traffic in one direction back down to 25 miles an hour or so through town. That is not an efficient way to move traffic. The other direction coming to the south will maintain a higher level or a higher speed. Also, the cost of the project will be higher if you proceed with the couplet plan. And I kind of disagree with the fact that it will inhibit the business opportunities in Middleton. If we did a full southern bypass, you're adding another artery, if you will, and look at what's happened around those arteries where there are bypasses. There's development, new restaurants, new businesses, and it complements what's going on in the city. And so I don't see this as a bad thing for the city of Middleton. As far as the Riverwalk goes, sure, there may be some disruption to that, but a couplet will do the same thing. One of those one of those traffic corridors will be down in that same area, and so it may be narrower, but it will still disrupt it. And lastly, the Riverwalk, it's a great idea. I've seen it several times, but it also can be modified to be complementary to this and this not be a detriment to it. That's all I have. Thank you. If there's any questions I can answer, I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate you. All right, moving on, Bruce Bain.
Thank you, Chair, Commission. So my name is Bruce Bain. I live at 23936 Viewcrest Lane. Also, I'm a taxpayer in City of Middleton as well. Just so that you know, I'm the director of Highway District 4. I'm not here speaking for Highway District 4. I'm speaking as a taxpayer of Middleton. I do want to speak on the transportation issues though, because that's what I know. Roberta, can you please turn to page 39, please? It's the existing study, plans and studies underway section for transportation.
Page 39.
Yep.
I'm in a PowerPoint. Are you talking about from the staff or
Yep,
the
from the
comp plan?
comprehensive plan, the one that I looked online.
Let me find it another way. I'll have to pull it up from.
Okay, well, once she pulls that up.
I have it.
You have the comp plan?
It's in the packet.
Yeah.
We'll make sure we do Mr. Bain. We'll make sure you get your time.
Thank you.
I'm gonna
Don't
look
wait
for-
until it brings back then.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I thought we'd all be on the same page.
I won't ding you for bringing up the map.
Thank you. No, not fire.
You said page 39?
Correct.
Of the PDF.
So this is start by
If you
page
go, if you go down, keep going down.
That's the transportation page.
There we go. If you go down a little bit more, please. No, that's not the page. There must be another transportation page. It's the existing plans and studies underway.
Right
Oh,
here.
there we are, thank you. So if you read down there in, I believe it's paragraph 3, study has advanced 4 concepts, which Jason has mentioned is now 3 concepts, that consist of alignment following existing State Highway 44 alignment, southern realignment of State Highway 44 from Canyon Lane to Middleton Park, southern realignment of State Highway 44 from Cemetery Road to Middleton Place Park, and a one-way couplet utilizing the existing alignment and the existing Boise Street alignment. Once the PEL process has been concluded, ITD is planning to advance one of these alternatives to the NEPA review phase, which is anticipated to take place in the fourth quarter of 2025. City Council has adopted to add the one-way couplet as depicted on page 194 of the appendix to the transportation update. So I have a real problem with this. So there's 3 concepts out there. City Council is only putting one of those on. Roberta also mentioned it's also on the functional classification map and the transportation and schools map. I didn't even notice that. So at December 18th, 2024, quite a month ago, City Council met and they approved a resolution 514-24 saying that as a resolution of the mayor and council thanking ITD and pledging to work towards a mutually beneficial solution for traffic on State Highway 44 corridor. So at a meeting, not only a month ago, City Council proposes to work with ITD. However, now I'm finding out that, oh no, they're only doing that as long as ITD agrees to this one proposal, right? So the other 2 proposals, they will be totally, it will take longer, it will take more money, depending on how that goes with the federal government and with the NEPA process. Just totally wrong. Also, this is the most expensive one. So I don't know how they decide that. Just can't make this up. So on one hand, City Council is saying they want to work with ITD, but in fact they're going to lengths to make sure that they do a resolution that 1 month later they're putting roadblocks in front of ITD and in front of the PEL study. Totally doesn't add up. Once ITD has completed their PEL study and everyone understands all of the repercussions of the alternatives, then a decision should be made on this transportation, not now. The plan update should not be approved without striking out the addition of the verbiage on this page 39, also taking out the plan sheet on page 194, also taking out the functional place classification map and the transportation and school map. I'll stand for any questions.
So here's a question. In that paragraph, it stated that the couplet would use the current alignment of 44 and the current alignment of Boise Street. How does that create a more expensive situation than a completely new bypass?
Well, you have to ask the ITD, but from what they've shown from their plan study so far, it's about $48 million more money. There's going to have to be all kinds of homes that are going to be taken out there. So obviously, if they do a southern route where there aren't homes currently, and there isn't currently infrastructure in the way, and there isn't currently housing in the way, that's going to cost less money. But I'll refer to their plan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you, Mr. Bain.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, we have Melissa Steed. If you'd like to testify, come on up. Just name and address.
My name is Melissa Stead, and my address is 9265 Taylor Drive in Middleton. And one of the questions I have, which echoes some of the sentiments, is it appears the decision made around the couplet is based on motivations that not all of us can understand, and I would like to better understand those motivations. As a resident who comes down frequently down Main Street, having a one-way direction is going to make my life and my kids' life much harder to get where we go. We work, we have kids, we have school, the kids have jobs, and so that can easily add 10, 15, 20 minutes to a commute. And when I think about how precious that time is with family and with being able to get where we need to go, it seems the motivations of what's driving this decision aren't clear to all of us on why this is better than what has been previously proposed by the IET. And so I'd love some transparency or understanding on why what appears to be on the surface more expensive, more time consuming, is better than some of the other proposals on the table. That's my question to the team.
You knew I was going to raise my hand, huh? One, I don't know exactly remember the date, but if you go back onto the live streams, when we all discussed this, we fleshed out a lot of those reasons, and it's there on the videos for you to look at. I can tell you for me, and I am just speaking for myself, I'm trying to look at everything holistically. And moving transportation, moving times is incredibly important, but is it more important than the whole of Middleton? I don't think so. So when we look at Crane Creek as a development, that the idea is that it's going to be our Indian Creek. That's pretty cool. The Riverwalk. Well, have you ever been to the Riverwalk down by Star? That's an amazing area. What would that do for Middleton? How would you like to go down there on a Sunday with your family, right? Pretty awesome. If a southern bypass, bisects our city into two different parts, a north and a south, we're no longer Middleton. We're now North Middleton and South Middleton. We no longer have potentially the ability to build a destination place like the Riverwalk. We no longer have the ability to put in a mini Indian Creek. So this is just for me, when I look at the couplet, to me what I see is a negotiation between the speed of moving traffic and the future economic health and societal health of our city. So take that for whatever it's worth, but go back and look at that video.
Yeah, and then with that, we'll definitely have a discussion here, and I urge the commission to take into factors some of the questions they ask when we do our discussion. I urge us to kind of go through, and we'll try to get everything, and during our discussion try to answer as many questions as possible as far as our positioning and everything, what we recommend, but go from there. But if commission have any other questions for Ms. C? All right, thank you so much, appreciate you. All right, next we have Cheryl Palang. Hey, I hope I got that right.
Yeah, I really Cheryl Palange, 9155 Pursuit Drive, Middleton. Same as what the gentleman from HD4 and IDT have said, very much in line with them, as well as Mrs. Stead. I just think that maybe some reimagining of those places and finding a balance is the right way to go, because I don't think the couplet is going to achieve the goal at all. Thank you.
Thank you. Patrick Edwards.
My thanks to the P&T committee for speaking tonight. My name is Patrick Edwards, and I live at Sawtooth Lake Subdivision at 578 Stanley Lake Street. I'm here this evening with Mark Mittelmeyer, who's the president of the Sawtooth Lakes HOA. We chose Middleton because it has a small town charm, it's pretty quiet, also much more affordable than Boise, which is what we initially wanted. And at first glance, much less traffic congestion than Boise. But then after we moved in February of 21, we found out the truth of the rush hour traffic on Main Street. So we recognized that something needed to be done, and also discovered that planning had been going on for quite some time. As I said, we live in Sawtooth Lake Subdivision, and the back of our house and our bedroom are right next to where ITD's alternatives 2 and 3 would put a freeway style highway, not a neighborhood style street. We find this very disturbing. And I counted them, and there are about 45 other homes in Sawtooth Lakes and Middleton Lakes like ours that back right up against where the road would be, which is a pretty good chunk of homes. We think that's bad news for a lot of Middleton residents. Again, we recognize that something needs to be done, and therefore both the Sawtooth Lakes HOA and the Middleton Lakes HOA strongly support ITD's Alternative 4. We also understand that, I believe, the Middleton City Council also supports alternative number 4. We believe that alternative number 4 has the following rather substantial benefits for the city of Middleton and its residents and businesses. Number 1, reduce flow of traffic with 2 roads, that's one way westbound, one way eastbound. This reduces the congestion noise versus just one freeway style highway with both west and eastbound traffic on one highway south of the city. More congestion. Number 2, better for downtown businesses with good one-way westbound traffic in alternative 4 versus alternatives 2 and 3, which moves a large chunk of traffic away from downtown businesses. Number 3, I believe ITD would maintain fiscal and maintenance responsibility for both the westbound and eastbound corridors instead of the city taking over the responsibility for the westbound corridor, Main Street. I'm not certain of that, but I think so. Number 4 benefit, ITD's alternatives 2 and 3 end up creating a very significant highway barrier, what actually, and I think somebody else said this, which divides the city north and south. And it makes it very difficult for us or on the south side to get literally to downtown Middleton with all those routes in the way. Number 5 benefit, putting a major highway right behind our 2 housing subdivisions will increase noise and pollution near these homes and will certainly reduce our home values. Number 6, almost done. Number 4 allows for the complete development of the proposed Crane Creek Plaza entertainment area, whereas alternatives 2 and 3 would significantly reduce or prevent it. Thank you for listening. Question?
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Appreciate it. All right. Ryan Romano.
Yes, sir.
Just okay, that's all right. That's fine. I see. I always check. And first name is Romano. Perfect.
Ryan is opposed.
Opposed. And Kara Romano opposed as well. Don Reynolds.
Don Reynolds, 452 East Hall, Walcott Lake Court, Middleton. My wife and I have been here. Well, first of all, I appreciate those who have come to speak. I appreciate ITD, the work that they do and the effort they put in. I've been to a lot of meetings from Caldwell to Star multiple times to looking at this transportation project in itself, and I appreciate their work. Appreciate Highway District 4 and look forward to their increased plans regarding regional traffic and adding maybe a bridge across the Boise River to aid in that. As that is their job, while I appreciate also your responsibility and job here tonight is to take care of the citizens of Middleton and regional, or not regional traffic, but local traffic and local needs. Having been here for 16 years now, I moved into Milton Lake subdivision and was told there would be at some point possibly a bypass put in. At the time, Mayor Taylor had felt like the river was a hazard and a liability that needed to be avoided and pushed growth to the north. He also thought that propane tanks were needed at all our propane or parks, and the parks should be walkable. And I think there's some ideas that he had that I liked and some that I disagreed with. I liked his idea of the bypass and what he was doing. When Mayor Rule came in and Becky Crofts and staff presented the idea that the river was not a liability but an actual amenity and an opportunity for the city, my views and perspective changed, and I think that the opportunities there are great, and I would encourage the city to consider those as they look at this comprehensive plan overall. My personal feelings on the routing of ITDs, Highway 44 is to keep it the existing routing. Landowners who built and bought on state highway knew and understood that there would be anticipated growth that comes with it, not those who are being asked to make changes because they have an alternate route. I grew up on US Highway 91, a 5-lane road right through the middle of my downtown. We had parades, we had schools, kids crossing both ways, and it was a great place to grow up, and it was a small town. Back to the comprehensive plan that you're here to discuss tonight. The meetings that I attended, I appreciated the opportunity to speak, and it was interesting to listen and hear what seemed like contrary perspectives where people wanted to maintain a small town, but then provide lots of services and opportunities at a low cost. And those two things can't always, well, they're just not going to happen. There has to be some compromise and differences. My comment to you as a council would be to consider what's best for Middleton residents, getting onto and access to the services and the community that we're a part of, and less concerned about ITDs and Highway District 4's regional traffic needs. While at the same time, I think it's important to work with those entities, and I appreciate the work that seems to have started more recently. I encourage you to consider Middleton's needs over regional traffic needs.
Greg Tominski, Chief Tominski.
Commissioners, Greg Tominski, Middleton Star Fire District Fire Chief. Mayor talked about the couplet. The couplet for the fire district cuts off, because of where the fire station is, it cuts off everything going east. So we've ran some models today that are not exact by any means, but we would add to the northeast of the current fire station location now 2 to 3 minute response times to get to Duck Lane or anywhere in that area. Depending on where the couplet went to the south of where we could tie in, if we went straight out the other side of the opposite side of the fire station, we go out now towards the dollar stores and then down and can't think of the name of the road that runs right into Ridley's. If that road still exists, because there's always been a question if that road was going to go away or not, we could go down and be able to go east if we got onto the proposed cutlet to the south. But those models still increase the response times by 2 minutes. So just a little bit of history or the stats on the fire district. We're at about 1,500 to 1,800 calls in Middleton. And so for every call, the average is over an hour. So every time that fire truck leaves, there's an hour of time, 1,500 to 1,800 times in a year, that there is no coverage in this town whatsoever. The fire district's 110 square miles without star. Some of our response times are 20, 25 minutes when you go all the way to out towards Jim County. We got a square property out there in Jim County, which the fire district is suffering for many different reasons. House Bill 389 cutting funding, urban renewal districts taking funding from fire districts, adding the couplet in, unless the city was going to provide a fire station on each end of it, would be detrimental to our citizens. And if truly what we're talking about here, listening to people talk, is let's do what's right for the citizen, I can't get traffic, or I can't get my fire trucks into those areas, and I'm losing response times any faster. We got canals that are blocking going any direction unless we put bridges in, and those are very costly as well. So, fire district is against the proposed cutlet that they have right now, and that's all. There's got questions.
So question for you, Chief Kaminsky.
Yeah.
If, say, just spitballing this, if the other option went through a high-speed bypass running through that limited access on the east and west end of town, where your only access is come to Middleton Road or to Hartley to come to the bypass and then access that bypass, what would that do to your timing?
Well, we have my understanding is, I've seen so many different maps for this, what it could be someday. My understanding is we'll still be able to go east and west on whatever this road is out here is gonna be called, if there's a bypass put in someplace.
Well, on the ITD maps on the east end of town, it's not a four-way access on that end.
Correct. But
So if you had to go to Duff Lane
Mhm.
and if you had to turn back around, go to Middleton Road, catch the bypass to go to Duff Lane, what would that add?
I didn't do the math on that one.
Do you think it would be more substantial than the couplet? Do you think it'd be more than 2 minutes?
Absolutely it would.
All right, I was just curious about that.
Yeah, absolutely it would. In the past, when I've worked with ITD on projects, on Chinden and on the other side of Star, we were able to sit down with them and go over those things and have potential of emergency vehicle access that no other vehicles can go. So I don't think that this project has got to that point yet, to where we have those negotiations on how we get through. And with the couplet,
Yeah, you're
there's
limited.
canals.
It definitely limits you, for sure. No, I agree. I just, again, like I said, transparency is important. I just want to make sure we've got
Absolutely.
everything out there. But, Commission, any other questions for the chief?
I got one.
Yeah.
You're basically on the corner of 44 and Dewey right now. So if the couplet did proceed to go through and Dewey extend all the way south to the eastern route, and so you wouldn't be jogging through South Middleton Road or anything like that. Have you done any projections on that?
No, I didn't have a way to project that because I didn't know if that road was going to be done. Yeah, I don't know.
Just to clarify what you were saying about if you had to go east towards Duff, yes, you can just hop on 44 and go east like you have. There's no need for you to jump on the bypass, southern, or if we did a southern bypass, there's no need for you to jump on the bypass, you just go east on 44, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so there's no, I guess this isn't addressed to your question.
Actually, no, you can't go east.
No,
With the southern bypass.
with a southern bypass.
You have to, yeah. There was a one-way, it's a right out, right in, kind of, on the eastern. They can't just head east.
On the existing road here? If there's no change.
Well, not on the existing.
Right,
but
and that's what I was addressing.
yeah. There's more backtracking on the southern bypass than the couplet, probably.
Any other question?
Thank you, Chief Kaminsky. Appreciate you. Is it Layla Davis?
Nothing to say.
Were you in favor or opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed. Antonio?
Yeah,
Sorry, I'm very familiar with my handwriting.
Yeah, that's all right, that's all right. I had contact.
Yeah, that's good.
Perfect.
Hi, I'm Tony, 1465 Meadow Park. Can you go on the land use map, please, Roberta, if you mind?
Okay.
One thing I want to clarify, at the beginning there was a comment made that this is just an idea. It's a lot more than an idea. That's why you have a complaint amendment application. Once it's set, it's set. And it's kind of a fight for anybody who wants to develop their land to make a change of your comprehensive plan. My concern that I have, I'm living in a house, selfishly. I pretty much, if I may, I'm this gigantic blue dot. So what it looks like, you set a public use on top of my house, my neighbors and everybody around it. The challenge I have with that is, I own some acreage, not a lot, and when I'm very young, I was to retire, and I do this for a living, so my thought is, okay, I retire and split it out, make some nice city lots and sell it. Well, you put in public use on that and can't. Then I have a problem with that. Selfish, of course. And the other question I had ties back, what's your idea for that lot? That's the biggest thing. Is that a school? Is that a park? I doubt it's a park because all around is 1 acre to, I figured 1 acre lots. So there wouldn't be a reason for a park at that location. So it kind of seems odd, just plop right in the middle of it. And the other question is going to go back to the highway district, because right now the road there, right in front of it, is defined as a collector. And it doesn't make really sense to run a collector going through, low density residential and ag. That's what they're showing on it. And to me, that doesn't make absolutely no sense. But again, I'm talking stuff. That's my house. So, is anybody can tell me what's your plan is for that square?
So that large blue square up there would be public, was planned generally in that whole kind of northeast quadrant as a regional park, somewhere up there. It's actually, because this isn't like zoning where it's very concrete, this is more of a vision, and there's nothing saying that there definitely will be a park right there, but somewhere, hopefully, we would like to plan a park somewhere up in that general area.
Which is great. I would suggest go half a mile north. Sorry. My concern is once you guys approve this, and I come in and say, hey, I want to, annex, we zone to R1. The first question that's going to come up from you guys is, well, now you got to file a complaint amendment. Because your complaint says this is public land, not residential.
Well, as a vision, it'll just depend on how many, if somebody comes in with a really large parcel with a really large, and they're not there, we might say that's a better place for the regional park.
Correct, but if you look at that, there is 10 different lots. Average in size between, I own about 4 acres, give or take, a little over 3 acres, 2 to 4 acres, and the rest is 1.5 to 2 acre lots. That's those single family houses just built in the last 2 years. And like I said, my goal is, to split it up. There's a big portion of the land that I can't use, so I can split it. But the concern I have is, like I said, the moment I come to apply, even if it's a 2-lot split, I come to annex and rezone, I gotta do a complaint amendment. So this is not just a maybe if type of thing.
Could you explain that a little bit more on a future land use map and a comp plan? Just because there's a park, that blue designation was for a park. Does that mean, can you explain better than I can explain?
Yes.
What that would mean to him and his property?
So, a quick question would be, what are the permitted zones in the schedule within a public use compound designation?
No residential. According to your map.
It doesn't. Chair Commissioners, on public on this chart, it does include the MU, C1, C2, C3, and multifamily. zones, and I did just want to point out, just food for thought, the draft comp plan does include statements that future zone changes shall generally adhere to the land use categories shown on the map, but flexibility in interpretation of the boundary may be granted, so.
No, and I understand that. I mean, I do this for a living. I get that part of it. But if it's just a suggestion, why would I have to go through a comp plan amendment, separate application? I'm assuming separate fees because nothing's free. Send a letter to everybody within 100 feet of that area. It's a lot of extra work for something that, at the end, you don't need to buy a problem. Bottom line. That's, I mean, at the end, it's all about dollars and cents. So you're lowering the value of the property by putting that designation in your comp plan. And I'm not really happy with that. And I would suggest the north or south.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you have a good sense for what a comp plan is. It's true that if you're going to amend the comp plan, you have to do the comp plan amendment.
Correct.
It's also true that property that's outside the city has to be annexed before the city has any jurisdiction over it. Right? So a comp plan extended beyond the city boundaries is essentially exactly what Robert articulated. It's impossible to have any practical consequence on a property because it's not part of the city. Now, I get that what you're saying is you want to in the future annex and then at that point to subdivide. But
in order, because of this, I'm leaving it.
Sure. In order for any right to do that, to vest, you'd have to get through an annexation first, which is legislative action.
Yeah.
So I disagree with you that you have any sort of vested right you're being deprived of at this point. That's just not. It's essentially impossible. But that being said, if you've articulated why you're here, right? You don't want a public use on your property. I'm almost done. Public use on your property on the comp plan. So if your request is that the Planning and Zoning Commission modify the map to exclude that public designation, that's a fine thing to request at this hearing.
Correct. Yeah, and I just want to make sure that it's not just because I woke up this morning and I don't want to do that on my property. I'm looking more at long-term impact of this. And I understand you have no jurisdiction outside. Well, yes, some jurisdiction because I'm within your area of impact anyway. So, but in the moment I want to annex, the first thing is going to be go look at the comp plan and see what zoning you're supposed to be. Right?
Sure.
And the comp plan says public use. And we don't let it. So I'm cordially asking if you guys can move it anywhere else but there. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Mr. Conti. Appreciate it. Mike McDougal.
Mike McDougal, 3037 Greenwell Lane. I had one question about, before kind of I want to talk about my stuff, but bypass option 2, I looked at in depth and I understood it had a means by which to link traveling, wherever that way is, eastbound.
East.
You could link into the bypass road. So the fire could go out on option 2 to the east.
It did. You have to backtrack a little bit and then go down to the light. There was just a right in, right out kind of thing, but then if you want to turn east, you have to go back.
So you took the street right next to the fire station.
And then go down to the light that would be there. And then
Okay, but it's right next to the fire station.
it's not right next to it, but you have to backtrack a bit.
But there is, so flow of traffic still ultimately connects.
Yeah, you just have to backtrack.
Very good. All right, I just thought I saw it wrong, and so my feelings are still the same. ITD has clearly spoken that if you guys put this here, it's an obstacle. It slows the process down. It potentially is more expensive. It's not what Middleton wanted. While I think the Riverwalk is an amazing concept, it's a fantasy, and it was Mayor Rule's fantasy, and it's not necessarily reality. It could be in 20 years or whatever, but we're not going to make it 20 years. If you guys say a couplet is on the comp plan, the bypass is not on the comp plan. The other options don't seem to be on the comp plan, because I've been to the meetings where they said we're not going to put you on the comp plan. But now you're going to put the one they don't want on the comp plan. This is totally confusing to me. Because all you have to do is wait for the Pell study and let ITD do their job. And then we get the best options and we do it. But if you throw a roadblock, then my theory stands. These folks just want to keep pushing it down, keep kicking that can down the road. Because the more we don't make a decision, the more we have folks over here at Sawtooth who are now in the way. Because let's just get more people in the way. Eventually there won't be any good idea. Because when Mayor Rule was there and the bypass was on the chart, it wouldn't have affected them. They've been here since then. ITD has clearly stated that there's all sorts of workarounds to make the whole Riverwalk thing work. So I will be really confused if you guys decide to just say, yeah, go ahead, put this on the comp plan. Everything else about the comp plan makes sense. If you'll notice, no one has spoken about anything but the transportation deal. So clearly the transportation thing doesn't make sense to those of us that live in this area. Mayor Hutchinson ran on a bypass. She got 65% of the vote. More people than even voted the previous thing voted for her. So a lot of people want a bypass. So this thing is starting to stink. So I say, my opinion is what these folks' opinions basically been. Let IT do their work. Don't put it on the comp plan. And let the real plan, don't stop with the stuff in the way. That's what I gotta say, otherwise I'm just gonna get mad.
Come back. So you feel that a couplet does not qualify as a bypass? Because I voted for Jackie because of something that would alleviate
A couplet
pressure.
doesn't alleviate anything.
So
in the morning, everybody goes that way. The same people that are now going that way, only they've got an extra lane, but they're still doing 25. In the afternoon, they're going that way, all of them. And none of them are going to 208, none of them are going to the taco shop, none of them are stopping in. The only ones stopping in are the ones trying to get there but can't, because everybody who wants to go to Star from the freeway is on their way.
So my question was not so much your opinion on what a one-way street is, but more along the lines of a couplet is a bypass.
It is a bypass.
Okay, so that is
the term bypass makes sense. It goes around.
That is exactly what I wanted you to say.
Very good.
Because this is not then in direct opposition.
Where are the other bypasses?
I'm not even going to talk about it being
Are they on the comp plan?
It was my understanding.
This is becoming argumentative more than
Oh, yeah.
a discussion.
That's true.
Very good.
That's true.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you.
Right.
You said what I wanted
Right.
you to say. Thanks, Mike.
All right. With that, looks like we don't have anybody else signed up, so with that, we will close public comment. Excuse me?
Can I speak?
You gotta come up here and sign your name out.
It'll just be a minute, I promise.
Come up here and fill this out. No, that's fine, that's fine. Actually, so just his name, address, phone number.
That's not a comment.
Good to go, we'll get you on there. Thank you, sir.
Hi, everybody. My name is Michael Thaw, T-H-A-U. I live at 598 Diamond Lake Street over here in the Sawtooth Lake subdivision. I didn't plan on speaking tonight. I didn't really want to. I barely made it here by the tip of my tail end because I was sitting in traffic. But here's this group. I've lived up there for about three and a half years now. Moved in from Nampa when Nampa got a little bit too big. And I really like the kind of hometown feel of Middleton. I got really excited when we got our second signal light up there in town. That was pretty cool. Right. The fact of the matter is I'm in great support of, now I can't remember the word because I'm on the spot up here, but the dual lane, dual traffic going down this way. And the main reason for it is I live right there, and that proposed bypass does put basically, maybe it's a little bit less of speed, but who knows, a freeway along the backside of my property. And I'll tell you that my wife, all 105 pounds of her, walks our dog down that road every day. My neighbor has 5 kids. Their kids ride their bikes on that road nearly every day. I know it was between the two subdivisions. Knife River was running trucks out of the pit over there down the road, and they petitioned to get Knife River to stop driving their trucks up that road to the roundabout and down Middleton out to Caldwell. and they made that happen, right? So now they have to run up Cemetery and go out that way. So the fact is that there are kids, there are people that use that. That is a neighborhood. And we're talking about putting a highway through there. I mean, what delay do we have running downtown? Is the speed limit going to go from 25 miles an hour to 75 miles an hour up the middle of town? Probably not, right? The delay of 3 minutes of you getting down to get your coffee or get your kid to school, I'm sorry, I sit in traffic for more than an hour and a half every day. I just don't see the value in an extra 3 minutes putting lives in danger, putting something like that right up a neighborhood. I thank you for your time. Any questions?
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. All right. With that, we will close public comment at 7 p.m. and move on to commission discussion. Mr. Gibson.
So it seems that the whole controversy here is having it on the comp plan. And again, I go back to, I'm pretty sure our conversation was, it was put it on the comp plan to help expedite whatever through funding. And I'd have to go back and look at notes for that. If that's not the case, what is the downside to taking it off the comp plan? And I'm not saying changing our position. I'm just saying take it off the comp plan. Just take it off the comp plan.
I would say one of the first things we have to do before we make a motion in a public hearing is to say that we've met the findings and facts. Findings and facts they're not here currently. We don't have a Pell study from ITD. We don't know what the options are from ITD. I feel as though we're trying to put something on the comp plan in order to force someone's hand, right? We talk about everything else that everybody else wants to do as concrete, but anything that we've mentioned is a concept. It's the same for ITD. Where they're going to put a bypass or a road or they're going to expand Highway 44, it's a concept until it's in plan, right? Everything is a concept. I feel as though we've made a lot of motions through City Council and maybe not put exactly 100% of the verbiage that we discussed even at this commission more than one time has not been pushed forward. And I think a lot of the decision-making process and some of the motions that were carried out through Planning and Zoning and City Council were driven emotionally by rumor and ego. And I think it would be in the best interest of this commission to either table this until the Pell study is present, where we can conclude more fact to a decision, and or simply refuse to vote.
What about putting them all on there?
No change to the map until the Pell study. Either we refuse to vote or we table it.
Well, and I completely see where you're coming from, Commissioner Walming, and I have feelings on both sides. Like I understand what you're saying, like I said, but we're bound by the fact of exactly said facts, and that's what's important. The fact is, and we've got. You come back there and you say options, and you go through potential options, and you say, well, and everything's fluid. Everything's fluid, right? There's things can change. What's written on a map, and I bring up points not because I play devil's advocate a lot. So I like to show, hey, yeah, there's this fact, there's this fact, there's this fact and this fact, because there's always one thing composed to the other. That's why I brought up the response times with Chief Jaminski and everything else. It's like, it's yes, of course, would a couple slow that down? Yeah, absolutely it would. But a bypass that limits north-south access could also do that.
But again, that's concept.
Exactly.
We don't know.
Exactly.
There's no fact to it.
And that's what I'm circling back around to. That's what I'm circling back around to is if some of the verbiage that sits there, and I understand, I understand the desire in trying to lock something in, and that it goes back through. And like I said, in my opinion, I think we just need to really look at the big picture. And I said that there's a fact. What I look when I see bypass, what I'm very careful about, and all this is the other is there benefits like Commissioner Gibbons when he came up and said, is there growth around the bypass area in Eagle and those other places that have bypasses? Yes, there are. It took 30 years to get that done. downtown Eagle died for a long time. And it died. A lot of folks lost their businesses until new folks came in and bought those after that was out. The downtown Eagle almost died, and that was with full four-way access to the east and west end. But that's, I said, you can't get emotional about it, but you gotta bring out everything, so. I think there's a lot of room, but I come back to Mr. Reynolds' points. I wanna consider, I understand the need to move traffic, and I understand the need to go east and west, but I also think our responsibility is to the city of Middleton, and that's its economic growth. That's that, and like I said, it's safety, it's that and the other, and there's just too many questions right now that we need answers to. So that's just where I'll leave my point. Fact.
Second Commissioner Wiltemates. I don't think we have all the facts, and I don't think it should be on here. I think we need everything in front of us first before we vote on any of the routes, and none of them should be on here until then. It's kind of like we're thumbing our nose at ITD and all the others saying, nope, this is what we want, and we don't care what you think at this point because we don't have all the facts.
Do we know when the Pell study is going to start, or when we're going to get some kind of recommendation from ITD on what they want to do?
It's a few months out. We're into spring, late spring maybe. Yeah.
No. What happened in October? I thought we were talking about last October. All right.
So
3 more months.
So with that, and I mean obviously we're dealing with a government entity. We can't set
a schedule.
We can't set a schedule. But again, going back to that, it's a frustrating process, and I know and emotions run charged. And I said, but it needs, like Mr. Waldman said, it needs to go back to facts, all that. But the thing I will say is this: is like it pushes through, and it's like we were looking at October. Now we're looking at late spring. Is that going to wait and push down? Like I said, you talk about cans kicking down the road, like Mr. McDougal said, cans kicking down the road. It goes on both sides. ITD started this process in 1998. And they can say they didn't, but that's when I ran people off my property, that were out there with permission, started to do surveys without landowner's permission. So I respect ITD. I think they do a fantastic job. I respect Canyon Highway District 4. My responsibility on this commission is to the people of Middleton, and I know we've got different views and different things, and there is, I believe there is room for compromise, and I believe there is room for action. As far as the couple going on the comp plan, I see positives and I see negatives. At the end of the day, what ITD wants to do after the Pell study is what's going to end up happening.
Right.
We can't stop them. Is putting that on what we feel is the best for Middleton. That's the question we're asking ourselves. But can we do that without having all the facts? So that's we're circling. So with that, commission, is there any other comments? Any other? Got that?
If I could ask Attorney Douglas Waterman to talk about this is not possibly the time to delay or wait, because you can make your recommendations, right? Tabling this is really not quite a good option here.
Sure. So, Commission, obviously, staff can't force you to engage in a vote, but your job is to make recommendations to the City Council. And so, if you want to make a recommendation that the City Council wait, or that the couple be removed, or whatever you wish to recommend, that's perfectly fine. I can't force you to vote, staff can't force you to vote, but you were placed on the commission for the purpose of making recommendations to council. And so, I represent the city. It's an awkward spot for me to be in because you're proposing doing a thing that, I'm supposed to represent the city. I don't think it's beneficial for the city for you to refuse to do your job on an item and just let it languish. That's not what you were appointed for. So if you want to recommend denial, that'd be fine. But I obviously can't make you vote one way or the other. That's just my opinion.
And as Madam Planner stated before, we are, if a motion is made, we can make a motion on this and say, hey, again, we're a recommending body, and I know there's some people in the audience. We don't make decisions here. We make our recommendations to the city council. Now, with that being said, we are able to make a motion and do whatever we feel is best, and we're gonna do a roll call vote, so we'll go back through on that. But that being said, we've heard some good testimony here. We've heard pros, we've heard cons, and I think this is what's good for the community is hearing people that are impassioned and have reasoning for it, because that's how real change is made. That's how solutions get made. You can't have just one person saying, hey, it's my way or the highway. So with that, would anybody like to make a crack at a motion?
I move we recommend denial of the application by the city for the amendment of the Middleton Comprehensive Plan text and maps until the Pell study is complete and we can be revisited through a new application.
Second that.
So just for clarification on that.
Repeat it one more time. Denial until the Pell study is complete, and then you can.
And then we'll revisit through a new application.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a clarifying question?
Please.
It's my sense of the motion you just made is that you're focused primarily, the recommendation for denial is based upon the transportation map, not based on the other goals and policies.
So the other policies and goals, obviously the transportation map would change based on whether or not this is even a recommendation of. Right? So then you're going to look at your school maps and your land use, as we've had discussed earlier. I don't think any change to the comprehensive plan or text or maps should be made until we have a Pell study and understand what our options are, and then the comp plan would then complement those options from ITD.
Great. I just wanted to make sure I understood. Appreciate that. Thank you.
And the fact underlying it, because I'm going to be drafting the recommendation for you, and you'll have time to approve it, and it's based on the fact that at this point you just don't know the result of the Pell study. That's the primary fact.
We don't have enough of fact to make a decision.
Right.
Okay.
So, and
any other facts you would want to add to that? Findings of facts, other than that, to what your recommendation is?
So, and just to clarify, Madam Planner, with that, and just so I'm clear, Commissioner Waltman, with that, we're talking about denial of the whole thing, not like.
Correct. We're not going to pick and choose which map, because there's going to be changes to each portions of the map depending on what the options are from ITD. So I don't want to go through and have to do this again and again and again and delay the process more and more and more, and be involved in the measuring contest that happens between the years.
Sure.
No change to the map until we understand our options.
Attorney Waterman, could they get to the same place by recommending approval, but taking the couplet off of transportation maps? Would that get them to the same place?
Mr. Chair, Roberta, I potentially, but any commission member is permitted to make a motion. So it's the motion that was made is certainly permissible and appropriate motion.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Is there any benefit to doing it that way? To just removing the couplet and leaving the rest of it there? And I understand Ray's point that it may change the nature of the comp plan if this is removed, but no, we didn't. The comp plan, I don't believe, was put together with the idea of a bypass, so it was completely separate. So I don't think it would affect the rest of the comp plan at all.
So, Mr. Chair, Commissioners,
I agree.
there's not a legal benefit or negative from that. The motion's been made, a substitute motion can be made. You can articulate your will whatever way you would like. If one of you perceives a benefit or not a benefit, that was the point of my clarifying question, was essentially Commissioner Walton was articulating that he does not see a benefit of that because his motion is predicated on a generalized position that there's not enough factual information to make a positive recommendation as to the remainder of it because of transportation map. So I can't give you an answer that yes, legally it's beneficial or no, legally it's not beneficial. It ultimately is just a commission decision.
Well, I mean, where we're at now is the motion's been made, it's been seconded, so we need to take a vote on that. So with that, Deputy Clerk, would you do a roll call?
Chairman Watkins,
Nay.
Commissioner Trumbull,
No.
Commissioner Waltman,
Yes.
Commissioner Gregory,
Yes.
Commissioner Gibson,
No.
Commissioner Turner.
Yes.
We have a tie.
So with that, it goes through as a tie to City Council. There's no tie. So just again, for clarification, go ahead.
So at this point, the vote, the motion failed, so there's no, it doesn't go anywhere at this point. You don't have an FCO you can sign. So if someone can make a substitute motion,
I don't know how, but,
First time for everything, Commissioner Gibson, go for it. We'll help you through
we'll
it.
help you through. I move that the amendments to the comp plan be approved with the exception of the transportation aspect. I don't know how to do it.
That the couplet be removed
That the couplet be
from the
removed.
text and the maps.
Yes.
Yes, that's what I said.
And you did beautifully.
Thank you.
But meaning everything else everybody generally was pleased with.
I believe so. Yes.
So for clarification for the record, Madam Planner, with this, what this motion would do would approve the comp plan as presented with the removal of the couplet from the comp plan.
You're recommending removal of the couplet
Yes.
from the maps and the text.
And the text.
So we're basically recommending,
So if we remove the couplet from the text, then we also need to remove the other options.
there will be no, there are no options.
They're not in the
They're not
text.
Oh, I thought they were already in there.
No.
That's why.
They're not.
The entire map is.
It was
Well,
one-sided.
Well, they're mentioned, and actually, now that I think about it, the text was really just descriptive of what's happened. It's mostly the maps that matter. So your recommendation would be to remove it from the map and the text if necessary. Text, at this point, I think it's just descriptive, you know what I'm saying? Telling the history of what happened. It just says that
Okay.
but, or you could say something like the text needs to be modified to the degree that it's removed from the map, something like that.
It's too many words.
No, definitely removed from the maps, couplet affirmed, but removed from the maps and, text as necessary.
Could I second with additional, are you able to, could I second that with additional note?
No, so there's technically, we don't follow Robert's Rules of Order, so there's no, the answer, I'm telling you no, just practically speaking, for clarity's sake, you can propose a substitute motion. That's gonna keep the record clear. Motion's been made, you can propose a substitute or you can second, but anyway, just so it's clear what the motion was.
So with that, I would propose a substitute motion, which basically echoes Commissioner Gibson's motion to approve the comprehensive plan with the exception of the transportation maps and verbiage regarding the bypass, and including any areas outside of impact. To go back to Mr. Conti's point, if we're gonna do, I don't wanna get too.
Yeah, I think that's more confusing.
Okay.
I'm not sure I'm following you at all.
Fair enough, I was.
That's pretty clear.
Yeah. Fair enough.
What Commissioner Gibson was doing.
Well, so, and I'm sorry, folks, this is a tricky one. This isn't as cut and dry. I said we're dealing with some heavy stuff there, but with that, we'll let Commissioner Gibson's motion stand. If anybody cares to second.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Gibson, a second from Commissioner Gregory. Clerk, do a roll call.
Chairman Watkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Trimble,
Yes.
Commissioner Waltman,
No.
Commissioner Gregory,
Yes.
Commissioner Gibson,
Yes.
Commissioner Turner.
Yes.
5-1. Or yes.
All right. With that, we will, motion's passed. Our recommendation will go to City Council as recorded. With that, we'll close commission comment on this item at 7:20 p.m. I'll give everybody a second if everybody, all we have left is just some public comments, anything that doesn't have to do with anything.
As long as it doesn't deal with an agenda item.
Yeah, if there's anything else on the agenda, sorry, we're done. All right.
Looks like we're done.
All right.
So we're still on record.
We're still on record. We got just one, this will be real quick. I'm just getting everybody's chance to clear out. We got a big crowd.
Good night.
All right, so with that, we have no signs for public comment. So, commission comments, staff comments. Anybody have anything further?
I got one. What is the general schedule for painting lines on the street? On all the streets, right?
Nice public works question.
All right.
Got to submit it to Jason Van Gogh.
Follow-up question. Are studded tires legal, and when can you use those?
I can actually answer that if you like.
Starts in October.
October, beginning of October, they have to be off on tax day, April 15th.
April 15th.
And yes, they are allowed.
Okay.
Even with no snow. Driving
Yeah.
around like
Yeah,
crazy.
with
Little
no
piece,
snow.
They're crazy,
little
but
piece of metal flying into my glass.
I'm down on Main Street all the time, and I hear studded tires drive by all the time.
Yep.
And then,
Summer, winter, doesn't matter.
to be noted too, as far as your public works question for the lines, we can't paint them until the weather, I think the degrees have to be 50 degrees or up, or else they just come right back off, so.
May I make a recommendation? We find a different paint vendor. Right. Because the stuff we use now is pretty much watercolors.
I'm coated.
Yeah.
just need better glass beads.
Okay, I got a question. Is there any truth to what I see on Facebook as far as a neighborhood Walmart coming, or at least having submitted plans? That's
Not
what
that
I-
I've seen.
No.
Walmart has never spoken to me in 4 years. A lot of people call on that, ask me all the time. It's the strangest thing.
Yeah.
And Walmart may be playing close to the vest and isn't triggering the city yet. It could possibly.
Right.
But they have not approached me.
I think.
I hear of other grocery stores though.
Oh, like who?
I can't say.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right.
Applications do exist.
Yep.
He does exist.
So with that, if somebody, so I have been asked this, and this is something, just a question for staff. Are applications public record?
Yeah.
Okay. To an extent.
The only exception, there are times when economic development will, like when a really big project is looking at a community, sometimes they'll have an NDA with the economic development teams, they want to find out more information, but, like, for example, with Walmart, and I don't do any economic development for Middleton, so there's no hidden message in this, or any cryptic here. Anyway, if a Walmart was coming in and they're looking at a parcel, they don't necessarily want people to know that they're looking at that parcel, because as soon as it's public knowledge that they're looking at that parcel,
Price goes
suddenly
up.
the value of that property goes up by 3 or 4 times, right? So there are times, and the city does have an exception in the Public Records Act, where it can engage in economic development, where it's competing with other jurisdictions for commercial and industrial concerns, when it can have some of that stuff be private. But that doesn't, 99.99% of the time, it's just all, if someone submits a building permit application, that's public record.
Yeah, and just because somebody's sniffing around, that doesn't mean I'm gonna have a document that's gonna be subject to public records.
Yeah.
I might know information or a phone call, but
Not in this case.
I don't have to read
It should be
anything.
shortly followed by a gag order.
Well, with that, I hope everybody had a good holiday. I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas. And
I had a flood in my house,
well, that's not a Merry Christmas.
and now I have to
Krampus came inside.
tear up everything in my whole bottom floor.
That's rough. All right, well, with
Water
that,
heater or dish or
we will
wash machine?
close the meeting.
5-year-old in the toilet.
Oh,
It ran for 3 hours.
Sticking his
All right, real quick. We'll close the meeting at 7:25 p.m.